Council members here. We're going to hear a little bit get a budget overview from the auditor's office. I think we all have looked over the volumes of budget. I can tell you, just from my perspective, it was really concerning that so many things that we heard at the town hall meetings on budget were not addressed. So I think there's an appetite from this council to look at it with a keen eye and ensure that some of the things that were meaningful to communities that were not in this budget, that they have an opportunity in the process within the limits of the process that we'll be able to look at some of those. And so if we do find cuts, there's really three pathways we can go. One pathway is that the county absorbs those cuts and they go to the fund balance or to the rainy day fund. That's one possibility. A second possibility is tax relief to the citizenry. And a third possibility, and the one that I think is preferred, is where we look at redirecting some of the dollars that we find and put them back into the community, something that we've heard at the town hall meetings in each of the respective districts. So with that little preface, I'm going to ask Lauren to give us an overview of the budget. And Lauren, if you could also introduce your staff, that would be really helpful. Councilman Catch, I think, asked, do we have a copy of your presentation in front of us? Okay. Okay, thank you. While we're waiting for that, let me just, in my opening comments, I should have said that the only thing the council can do is we have the ability to cut. We do not have the ability to redirect funds. So we are doing what the charter says we can do. And then we'll look at alternatives after that. for the technology funds? For 25 in technology? Do we know specifically what that technology would be used for?
Well, we will have that as part of the OIP's budget package.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
Lauren, can you restate, you said you had 215 million that's being used in surplus funding. And then you had another note about at the end of 2025, there's 360 million. What was that?
361 million is the projection of surplus that'll be at the end of fiscal year 25.
We will generate 361 million for,
The empty balance, that is what will be left.
out of the, is the surplus funding, that's coming from the rainy day fund?
So 257 million of that is that 10% set aside for the rainy day fund, and then there's 104 in addition. So that's the two pieces of the total surplus. 10% required for the RSRA, the rainy day fund.
Okay.
And then what's outside of that.
Okay. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Cash.
Yes, on pages is, I don't think they're numbered, but anyhow, the authorized positions with the cut in the school system of 323, you said teachers? And 255, and the rest are elimination in other agencies in the Department of Education? Okay. My question is, was this in the budget proposed by the school system, or were these cuts in personnel made by the county executive? Okay, thank you very much. And we will, I guess, get an indication of why they were cut and how we're going to make up for this loss, because I don't think that the county school system's population has decreased to the point where you could eliminate 250 teaching positions. It's of great concern to me, but thank you. That's a lot of teachers.
Vacant positions, they move things around.
23, you can see the historic funding of payout.
Is that class size?
The budget still went up 8%.
Lauren, could I ask you a question about, this is a follow-up to Councilman Ertel's question related to the surplus in general fund for fiscal 25. So is this saying that there's a projected end balance that hasn't been allocated or encumbered of 104 million? Is that correct? Am I understanding that correctly? Okay. So I just want to so that's not allocated to a fiscal 25 project in PAYGO or general? So it seems to me if we have 100, and I think I'm understanding this correctly, we have all this outstanding demand that came at our town hall meetings that we didn't address, but yet we're showing, I might be wrong, but I just want to understand it correctly, but we're showing that there's $104 million out there that hasn't been dedicated to any particular capital project. I still don't get that. So let's talk about fiscal 25. right? Fiscal '25, I know I'm not going to speak for any other council district. I know in my district, only one project was funded that was requested at a town hall meeting. And so I just want to understand it correctly, because it's a really important piece of information. So we have 104 million that's not tied to any fiscal '25 project as we form the '25 budget, correct? Right. So is it possible then, for all those projects that weren't addressed, that came up at town hall meetings, that this 104 million could be allocated to address some of those? Yes, go right ahead, Liz. This is a really key point. We need to get it right. So it's to address debt service that's not addressed in the '25 budget?
What I'm saying is that there's an awareness that there is this balance, and then there's sort of a multi-year plan to utilize it.
But it's dollars that are captured in fiscal '24 or '25?
These are
Where do, what,
that are anticipated sort of remaining in the county general fund at the end of FY '25. But what I'm saying is that budget finance has an awareness of it, and it has plans like might have that plan for Jacob, say, for next year. It's like
but it's not,
15 million that was used this year as part of the 321 million that was in there when we ended last year. They used 215 million of it this year, and mostly Paygo, but also Warren and then what's left is that 103 million, which will then be available for next year.
so it's to be determined by the Office of Budget?
But, well, I'm just saying that they print a multi-year forecast that shows a planned drawdown to the surplus over several years.
Why wouldn't we just use it to address, maybe this is a question for,
Please.
yes.
So, Mr. Chair, our fund balance floor is 10%. And that is where eventually we fall down, often more rapidly than we want. So that is our county law. I will say that rating agencies are very hesitant about our drawdown as it sits currently. If you notice in our budget documents, we had 25 to 22% ending fund balance last year. And as the auditor pointed out, you do see the drawdown. A lot of it was applied to pay the capital projects, which are one-time costs and appropriate for that type of use. But we want to be very clear and very careful that any indication of a drawdown from 22 to 10% would not look very favorable on rating agencies. And we do need that buffer for fund balance.
So last year, we had a 22%. I mean, to me, I just don't get it, because we have a rainy day fund that the rating agencies want us to have, right? And so have we met that? And so so then there's a gap between what our surplus funds are and what the rating agencies want us to have. And that's 104 million.
Let me be clear, Mr. Chair, we want to have 10%. That's what the council decided. And the administration that will change that. The rating agencies want higher. They said to us that they feel more comfortable with 25%.
Yeah.
We have some counties in Texas with 35% fund balance. It fluctuates depending on the economy and the nature of the locality and what they rely on. So, again, we are comfortable with 10%, but again, we are, cautious with the rating agencies. That's one major metric that they look at when they decide to give us our rating.
Does the Spending Affordability Committee weigh in on that? Is there any governing body that weighs in on that?
I believe the spending affordability
I'll tell you what I'm getting at, again, and we're trying to find a way to address the unmet need that was identified at our budget town hall meetings. And as I outlined earlier in the meeting, one method is to identify cuts throughout the budget and then work with the county executive to redirect those funds. And what I'm seeing here is another possibility, and I just want to be clear that that is, and if you could report back on to the council, what is the actual bottom line that the rating agencies, like right now, we're saying somewhere between 22% and 10%. What if it were 9% or 8%? Could you give us a more definite number related to something that'll keep the rating agencies comfortable, but also offer an opportunity to address some of the unmet need that was identified at the budget town hall meetings?
Yeah, I will say in 2018 that we were in the midst of a downgrade. And part of the solution to avoid that downgrade was to have the council legislate an increase to the R&D rate base fund of 5 to 10%. That's how we can get to 10%. The rating agencies, they will not advise, they will take action. So this is not something, it's not really a conversation we have with them. We try to project our long-term plans and talk about how the 10% is satisfactory, but again, if you're looking at the budget documents, and we've had a conversation that, fund balance was very high a couple of years ago, we peaked at 25%. And we did, and we've been very open and transparent about the drawdown. And as a budget director, I feel that 14 is probably where we want to go. I would be very, very reticent to lower that at this point, because we do use the fund balance for next year too. So we're going to look at that as built-in revenue. And part of what I'll mention briefly tonight is that that's what we're concerned about in 2026. I know that FY25 is here, that's what we're talking about. But our recommendation is obviously what we have here.
So are you saying, Mr. Reed, that we could actually have that 10% in place and the rating agencies could downgrade us even though we put 10% there? We don't know what the rating agencies are going to do. Is that correct? Wow, that's a tough position to be in. Could you give us kind of some, I don't really know what to ask at this point. Like I want to have some level of comfort, and I don't know if my colleagues want to weigh in on this, but I want to have some level of comfort that we won't get downgraded based on whatever the surplus the surplus we have. At the same time, we're trying to meet the unmet need that was identified at the budget town hall meetings. And I don't know where that comfort level of budget.
There's a lot of uncertainty in the economy, and with our stronger revenue projections that we have, we lowered our a little bit more. And that's okay. We're very conservative with our forecasting. There's also uncertainty around the impact that the bridge will have on the local economy, which is why we feel a balance is adequate. And same thing in case we take immediate action. I would see that falling. We don't want to set ourselves up for failure in future years. And I feel that this is a responsible place to be.
Okay, Councilman Marks?
I think there's a kind of a larger, broader question. This county council has supported more openness, more transparency, and I believe the requirement to have the budget town meetings was adopted by a county council. I think it was the previous county council. And I applaud the county executive for what he's done, because as he's noted before, you've had budget town hall meetings and 1 or 2 people came. The question I have is, what message does it send to the public when they see a budget that doesn't reflect things that are requested? I mean, at my town hall meeting, I had one of the, I think the best attended town hall meetings, and a lot of the priorities just were not in there. some of the things that were requested were in the, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, this is a very, very large budget, and some of them were safety concerns. And look, I think, Kevin, I think you do a very good job. It's not directed at you, it's nothing personal, but it's just, that's what I hear from my constituents when I go back to them, and they say to me, well, you told me, Councilman Marks, to show at this town hall meeting. You told me to show up, and we're being told it's not in here, and we don't know when it's going to be in there. I mean, it's just, I'm just voicing what people say to me.
Councilman Marks, so I guess we're back to the beginning of this conversation, which is that the council will do what it's mandated to do to find that savings, and, one of three things happens, as I mentioned earlier, and, the preferred one is there's a supplemental budget that gets submitted to address some of that unmet need. And the council will do our job, our mandated job is to look for those dollars. If we find those cuts, we would hope that the county executive would redirect them to some of the unmet need at the town hall meetings. If this $104 million is not a pathway to address the unmet need, then we'll look at other pathways. Okay, I think we probably beat this to death. Councilman Ertel?
Kevin, while you have do you still have the mic? I don't know if you're the one to speak to this, but probably. The debt service looks like it's gone up about 1% from last year, or something in that range. Maybe it's not exactly 1%, but is there, do we know what's behind that growing debt service? Is that because we're spending more or loaning more?
Yeah, Councilman, we have, again, following the guidance of spending affordability, your budgeting premium, you're not paying debt service with bond premium that we received during the sale, as recommended by the council. So you will see that growth is kind of that now we have to account for bond premium. We have to pay that debt service cost. We can't apply bond premium to it. So again, we have, we're retiring debt and taking on debt each year. So we expect that to rise.
And there's thank you. There's a line on here that says 10%. It's kind of a red line. Is that something? Well, no, I mean, I don't know if it's just on this chart that they took the line at 10% and took it across. Is there something significant about that line? Are we not supposed to be crossing 10%, or?
That's general fund revenues. Yeah, it's actually 9.5. 9.5.
It's debt service guidelines set by the Aesthetic Affordability Committee.
So that,
I'll talk about them.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, any other additional comments, questions? Ms. Smelkinson? Yes, go right ahead. I was going to say Ms. Belcastro, but I'll say Ms. Smelkinson. Ms. Melkinson, do any of the members have any questions, comments, or thoughts they'd like to share with Ms. Melkinson? Councilman Young?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Earlier, talking about community college funding, they had the decrease from the state. What was, in terms of what we received with the CADE formula this year, what was total allocation to our community colleges? College, sorry, we only got one. So it was about funding to our community college. We received less from the state. CADE funding, and using the CADE formula, what did we end up allocating and what did they receive total compared to last year? I know what we received, but that's fine. No worries, that's fine, that's an answer. Great. All right, and in terms of increases for authorized positions, HHS had 26 positions, modest compared to the other two. I just was curious what those 26 were. No worries, they've had some transitions themselves. Okay, no worries, I can ask the rest offline. Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any of the other members have any questions, comments, or thoughts to share? Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Melkinson, and thank you to your team, and thank you, Director Reed. This concludes our session on budget. We're doing basic services maps first. Okay. All the members, the public that is here this afternoon, we're going to go through a little technical adjustment where Ms. Belcastro is going to close out this meeting on the WebEx, and then she's going to boot up the next meeting